You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, one of the stories that I'm trying to keep an eye on right now is what's going on in Indianapolis. I've had a theory for a while since the moment he was signed that Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard believes that Daniel Jones might be their Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Alex Smith later in his career with Harbaugh and Andy Reid. Might be a rehabilitation project, all right? Somebody that's viewed as, look, when your original team, you're not with your original team this early in your career that drafted you, you are a bust. Even if you did have one season where you had what I would refer to as moderate success, I never would have given Daniel Jones that large contract. But Daniel Jones has a skill set. He has good size, no doubt about it, has a pretty decent arm, and definitely has much more athleticism than people realize. Daniel Jones is an athlete, which is crazy when you look at him. You're like, you're going to be a slow white guy, aren't you? No, not at all. Not at all. And I think Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard decided to sign him. And look, folks, this is where we'll start. You have to look no further than this contract they gave him. They gave him a contract that's basically $14 million, period. He's going to get $14 million, all right? And so that right there tells you that's a price point where they view him as at least a one-year kind of starter, a bridge gap guy, and a let's see what we can get kind of thing. Can we hit lightning in a bottle? Blah, blah, blah. And we know Anthony Richardson cannot stay healthy. Now, before we dive into this, guys, I've said, and I don't know who gave Anthony Richardson the advice to come out in the draft. And I understand he got drafted, what did he get drafted? Fourth overall, all right? Fourth overall in the 2023 draft. So that contract, he's already made a lot of money. So it's hard to say he did the wrong thing, but let's face it. If he'd have stayed in college, he'd have made a lot of money in college too. All right? Because no doubt, he would have been one of the best quarterbacks, we assume, the last two seasons in college. And that's the thing. He should have stayed in college. And I do not understand these teams that want to draft, that feel the need to draft on traits so badly that they're willing to draft a quarterback that's got 393 college attempts and 53.8% completion percentage in his last year. No offense to Anthony Richardson. I know he's a beast. I'm not touching a quarterback with stats like that. Shane Steichen had Jalen Hurts, right? He did good things with Jalen. It's not the same thing. Jalen had over 1,000 pass attempts in college. He played a lot of college football. Led the nation in completion percentage his last year at Oklahoma. So, there were things there that would lead you to believe. You could say, well, what about Cam? Cam didn't have a whole lot of snaps. He didn't. But think about how bad Cam Newton's accuracy is in the NFL. His year at Auburn, he threw for 66% on his completion. He was accurate in college. Cam was actually accurate in college. So at least, look, that's a you're looking at a 13% difference between Cam Newton and Anthony Richardson on accuracy the final year in college. In college, I never would have drafted this guy. So, Sports Illustrated, Jack Arthur, who follows the Colts over there, he as you can imagine, they do these mailbags and these questionnaires and things from fans. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are asking about the quarterback situation. Well, he just comes out and says Anthony Richardson has to basically have the training camp to end all training camps in order to keep this job. He's not going to win it. All right. It's a wrap. And I heard the other day, I think it was John Middlecoff's podcast, pretty sure that he had been told that the Colts had lost faith in him the moment he tapped out in that game. The organization did. It was not a good look at all. Let's say that Anthony Richardson is back at the start of training camp or early into it. The Colts have already said that they're not going to throw a full workload on his plate right away. That would mean Daniel Jones had 2 weeks in spring OTAs and minicamp where he was the sole QB1, getting all the reps, and he would be getting much of the work in training camp until Richardson's arm was done with pitch count. In a 50-50 battle, Richardson would clearly be behind in the competition. At this point, Richardson would either have to look outstanding in camp, especially in joint practices in the preseason, to get the job, or Jones would have to totally lose control of the lead. Jones has looked pretty solid so far from what the media has seen, so it's hard to imagine he is not the favorite right now. The Colts could feel different, but I think the constant, quote, what if surrounding Richardson's health would make things more disruptive than simply going with the guy in Jones, who seems to be operating the offense pretty efficiently. Yeah, and the other thing is Kevin O'Connell got to work with Daniel Jones in Minnesota, and they tried to re-sign him, by the way. And he decided, hey, look, I can stay here. They're going to let J.J. McCarthy be the starter, or at least they want to. I know their intentions there. But Kevin O'Connell had good things legitimately felt like Daniel Jones has the tools to be a guy. All right, so knowing that and knowing his offensive prowess and how respecting Kevin O'Connell is around the league, that's why the Colts jumped in and grabbed him. I thought it was a shrewd signing, actually. I don't know how it's going to work out, but yeah, I think Daniel Jones is probably going to run away with this job. Now, what is that going to look like for the season? It kind of depends on Steichen and Jones. Can they be sort of the poor man's Jalen Hurts? Is he as fast as Jalen? No, but he's pretty quick. I think he's actually bigger than Jalen, too, to be honest. And Jalen's a big, big dude. But I think Daniel Jones is 6'4", 6'5", if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you can't. And I hope this changes with these college quarterbacks. We're starting to see a lot of college quarterbacks the last 2 seasons. It really started not just this season, but last season. Brock Purdy kind of woke a lot of organizations up. Hey, we better start going back to some of the Parcells rules. Played 30 games in the league, I think he may have wanted like 23 or 25 wins out of 30 games in college. Certain completion percentage. Parcells had all of these rules, and one of them was you played a big sample size of college football, not 1 year. Equivalent of essentially you having to play 2 full seasons in part of another one. All right, and I think that's smart. If I'm a team, I'm never drafting a quarterback that's played less than 30 games again. I'm just not going to do it. If he's had less than 1,000 attempts in college, I'm not going to do it because there is so much evidence, and I don't understand why teams do it. I don't understand why the Colts did it, because there is real evidence that drafting a long-time college starter is way more successful than drafting a guy that's played the equivalent of 1 year and some change like Richardson. I mean, sometimes you got to be smarter than just looking at, oh, he's 6'4", 250. Wow. Yeah, but Anthony Richardson can't hit the broadside of a barn. Cam. I mean, yeah, he's got Cam-like traits. Cam threw a 66% completion percentage his final year in college, which could be described as his only full year in college. And think about how inaccurate Cam was. That was his Achilles heel. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.